Okay, Mr. Nedrow, meeting is yours.
Okay, good evening, everybody. I'd like to call the Village of Wolverine Lake Council meeting virtually, I guess, Wednesday, October 14th, order. Pledge of allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United
of the
States of
United
America
States of America,
and to the
to the
republic,
republic for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible, with liberty and
liberty
justice
and
for all.
justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Nedrow,
Here.
Duff,
Here.
Malik. Oh, no.
Not again.
Scott,
Here.
York, Sinkowitz.
Walt's
Here.
here.
Sorry, here.
Dumont.
Here.
Oh, York's here. But did Malik come back on?
Have not seen him yet.
I thought I saw him briefly when I first got on.
He was on and he dropped out, I guess, again. He was having issues.
He's here-ish.
Yeah, he's here somewhere. Here in spirit anyways. I don't believe we have any additions to business. Is that correct, Mr. Condick?
Right, you are, Mr. President.
I have a question, Mr. President.
Go ahead.
With the closed sessions we had and all the meetings, are you going to make any comments or address anything that finally came out of that
Yes,
letter that
we're-
was sent to the,
We're going to be
paper?
going into closed session again tonight, Ed. It's on the agenda,
okay,
okay?
And I'd like to ask something, Mr. President, before we get started too, about replacing Hunter that left the DPW. Do we need to add that to the agenda? Is that something we can discuss in closed session, or? Because I really think we need the fourth person for the winter.
That wouldn't be anything to discuss in closed session. That would be something to discuss unless you had a particular candidate that you were discussing and he requested, confidential. Then you need to address that in open session.
I suppose we could add that as a agenda item
Yes, please.
L. DPW staffing.
Brian,
That's
this is Bob Malik.
Yeah, Bob.
Okay, I'm here on the phone because somehow or another they shut me off and it won't let me join the meeting. So
Okay.
I don't know what's going on.
Okay. Can
Mr.
Sorry,
President?
Bob. I don't know what's going on.
the only thing about talking about another employee is we wanted to get our feet wet into the negotiations with the DPW before we started talking about that.
Well,
So,
we can talk about it.
Well, it'll be on the agenda. We can discuss it as an agenda item for momentarily or whatever we decide to do on it, I guess. Okay.
okay.
Other than that, I don't think we have anything else on the agenda to add. So with that, we'll move along to approval of the agenda as amended.
So moved.
That was a motion by Duff, second by York. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Duff,
Yes.
Malik,
Yes,
Scott,
Yes.
York,
Yes.
Dumont. Thumbs
Yes.
up. Sinkowitz.
Yes,
Nedrow.
Yes. Okay, correspondence and information. We had a couple letters. I don't know, did most of you receive that one letter from the gentleman over in Shanken? Everybody see that letter? It's not in the packet. It was emailed out I think Sunday night. Mr. Eccles?
I didn't see it, sir.
I did not.
No.
Okay. Well, I guess there was an issue as far as, we did some, I guess maybe Mr. Powell could fill us in on that a little bit, but we could maybe discuss that during his engineer's review. Okay. Aside from that, I don't think we really have anything else as far as correspondence. So, call to the public. Rob, do you see anybody in the public?
There's one member of the public. If you'd like to address the council, you can press *9 to raise your hand. And then *6 to unmute yourself. *9 to raise your hand to address council and call to the public. We'll give it a moment.
Mm-hmm.
No one has raised their hand at this moment.
Okay,
this
seeing
point.
none, we'll bypass the call to the public. Considering consideration of the consent agenda. Ugh. It's gonna be a long night. Got the minutes from council, regular council meeting. We got the minutes from the joint parks and rec council meeting. We got the special council meeting held Wednesday, September 30th. We got warrants and the building reports and everything.
I'd
So,
like to make a motion to approve that.
Second.
oops, Leon's raising her hand here.
I have one small amendment to the minutes for the regular council meeting held last Wednesday. It
Okay.
just says on the page 1 that Jennifer, that I was the attorney present, and it was actually Jennifer.
Jennifer, right. So
The
we
only
need to
change.
remove those minutes from the consent agenda, I guess. So that would be a motion by Mr. Duff, second by Mr. Dumont to approve the consent agenda, removing the special council meeting minutes from last Wednesday.
No, the regular
Oh,
council
the regular meeting minutes,
from September 9th.
September 9th. Okay.
Yes.
Hey,
Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Malik,
yes.
Scott,
Yes.
York. Was that a York? Was that a thumbs up?
Yes, sorry.
Dumont,
Yes.
Sinkowitz,
Yes.
Nedrow,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Okay, I think that's it.
Brian, can I interrupt 1 minute?
Yeah, go ahead, Bob.
Hey, I want to ask Rob. Rob, can you disconnect me from the meeting that I'm on with my iPad? Because I'm trying to get back in on the iPad, and all it keeps doing is giving me the circle saying waiting. And this is the third time I'm trying. It's doing the same thing. So I'm thinking if you shut me down and I'll retry.
I don't
Because
see,
this is a long distance phone call that I'm on for 312, and then this is going to be a 3-hour meeting. This is a little outrageous. 'cause
there is
it
an
won't let me
there is a
through.
toll-free number.
It won't let me through on that number.
I gotcha. Okay. I don't see your iPad as a participant
I
anymore.
don't see him connected either, yeah.
Okay, because all it's doing is I put in the number and it's got a word in the middle waiting, and it's the little wheel is spinning and spinning. It's been spinning since before I asked you this question.
Try turning the iPad off and rebooting it and getting back into Zoom.
All right, I'll try that as we go along.
Yeah,
Thank
don't
you.
hang up. Don't hang up.
I'm not hanging up, but I got to put the phone on speaker so I can put it down and hear what's going on and do that.
Okay, with that,
I'm sorry for the confusion, people.
with that, we'll move forward with the regular council meeting minutes then. We had that one correction for Leanne. And that was because Jennifer was actually the person, the attorney present instead of Leanne, so. I believe with that, accept a motion to approve those meeting minutes as
So moved.
amended. That was a motion by Duff, second by
I'll second it.
Mr. Scott, I believe.
Yes.
Any discussion on that? Roll call
Was
vote,
that
please.
item B?
What was that?
Was that the item B?
No, it was item A.
Oh, okay.
Well, this is actually just left over from the consent agenda because the minutes were on that. So we just
Right.
removed it from the consent agenda, but we had to approve the minutes after that, so. And that was a roll call vote, I believe.
Scott,
Yes.
York,
Yes.
Dumont,
Yes.
Sinkowitz,
Yes.
Nedrow,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Malik,
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's it. So past that, we're along to item 9, which would be board appointments. First is recommendation council reappoint Scott Fredericks, Brandon Thorne, and James Clark to the planning commission for a 3-year term expiring 12/31 of 23.
So moved.
Motion by Duff. That was a second by
Sinkowitz.
Mr. Sinkowitz, I guess. Any discussion? The only thing I can say is we just got Mr. Clark on there about a month and a half ago, so. Scott's been on the board for a long time and Brandon was put on here about, I think earlier last spring, so. With that, roll call vote.
York,
Yes.
Dumont,
Yes.
Sinkowitz,
Yes.
Nedrow,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Malik,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Okay. 9B, recommendation the council reappoint Catherine Duff and Ryan Martini to the Water Management Board for a 3-year term expiring 12/31 of 23.
So moved.
That was a motion by Dumont, second by
I'll second it.
Mr. Scott. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Dumont,
Yes.
Sinkowitz,
Yes.
Nedrow,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Malik,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
York,
Yes.
Okay, off to 10. 10A, recommendation and updates from Engineer Mike Powell. First was a pay request for Asphalt Specialties, Inc., or ASI, info to be provided at the meeting. So I imagine Mike's probably got something.
I do, thank you. And I'm hoping that Rob can allow me to share my screen. And so I'll give that a try. Rob, am I able to share my screen?
Yes. Yep, go
All
ahead.
right. So the letter that you have in your packet is, all the numbers are exactly the same. But this letter is a revised letter dated today because Mr. Kondak pointed out that the letter that I gave you as counsel didn't explain some of the numbers. So I wanted to make sure that it was clear and concise. So the village is currently retaining $15,000 from Asphalt Specialists, Inc. for the 2019 road paving project. That's approximately 5% of the retainage of the entire project. In our pay request number 2 in our recommendation, I had removed and held back an additional $11,424 from the contractor because there were some problems with a couple of the roadways that I required them to repair. And that was my estimate to repair those. And I did not obviously want to pay the contractor for that. Along with that, there was some additional shoulder material that that the contractor legitimately put in along Ladd Road. If you recall, those ditches were extremely deep along the west side of Ladd Road. And I asked them to add some additional shoulder material in there to soften those shoulders and soften the ditch line so that if a car goes off, they weren't down in a 3-foot deep ditch. Then because I'm not perfect, I ended up with a $1,480 math error in the pay request number 1. So to pay off ASI totally, and they've been very patient, and they've been good at coming back and doing some repairs. It's my recommendation that the village pay them off with a total payment of $28,904. And as you can see by the bottom of this page here, that the original cost of the project was going to be over $1 million. Although we did pull out a couple roads, the actual price of the project totally was $788,143.08. So I respectfully, if council, unless council has some questions, request that ASI be paid off for $28,904.
So moved.
Well, it was a tie between Mr. Duff and, was that Walt?
No.
Or Dumont? Dumont? Who was
I'll
a,
second it though.
who was the first tie with? It was Duff, and I think probably, was it Mark? Dave? Okay. So I think Mark probably made the motion and Dave seconded like a half a second behind, so we'll give it to him.
Perfect.
Okay, any discussion, any more discussion on that item? Roll call vote, please.
Sinkowitz,
Yes.
Nedrow,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Malik,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
York,
Yes.
Dumont,
Yes.
Okay. Next item was Clara Miller Park Restroom Building Project update.
All right, as you remember, council, there was some very, very good discussion at your last council meeting and the joint meeting between the Parks and Rec and the council. My list was fairly long to try to provide you with some talking point costs. Council did authorize, I believe in your motion, to extend the building by about 3 feet. And if you recall, that makes the addition 25 feet wide and 18 feet deep north to south. The cost to do that in the bid was $5,000 for every 2 feet of additional structure. The contractor came back in this proposal and knocked it down to an even $7,000 additional. So he knocked $500 off of his bid to put the additional 3 feet at $7,000. So it's now going to be at 18 by 25, and the foundations have been laid out, and they were supposed to have been poured this week. So hopefully they can do that and have the walls started immediately. That being said, if you recall also, there were some issues that came up during that joint meeting. The contractor has a price to install the roll-up door, and I believe that's 2 feet by, or 3 feet by 4 feet. Standard roll-up door for the stainless steel countertop for the snack bar of $2,650, and that would be on the west side of the building, adjacent to the 6-foot roll-up entry door. I also asked him to give us a price to install a 2-inch conduit under the footing for future water service, and I'll get into that because I did that calculation for the water tap. And then the plumbing fixture budget for the 2 new toilets, 2 sinks, and 2 faucets, so that the entire building then would have new fixtures. The stainless steel fixtures in there still function, and the toilets themselves, of course, are not handicapped. They're a little bit lower, and so the toilets were already included in for the handicap, but it's $1,300 for the toilets, the sink, and the faucets for that. I did ask him to provide us a price for, and I'm sorry, the snack bar, it includes, I apologize, it's the roll-up door and the stainless steel countertop to go inside that roll-up door. So that's kind of a nice service then for them to sell from and open up just that rolling door. So this is for discussion purposes. Certainly the contractor will stand by his prices here, but we need some guidance so that he can include whatever you'd like in the new project.
Michael, just a quick question. Within the proposal, as I see it, the first header on my piece says 15 times 25 foot addition. Shouldn't that read 18?
Yes, but remember, that's the original
Okay.
bid.
I
And then
understand.
if you go to page 2,
Okay,
on the,
Which I am-
and I have it on the back, but page 2, it's
3 foot,
the addition of
3
3
foot
feet.
adder.
I got it. I see it. Okay.
And then just to be clear, Michael, we're replacing all the toilets, right?
That is correct.
2 were included originally, and then we're adding the 2 more.
That, actually, no.
There's only one more.
We're just adding
one
one more.
Okay.
And then the 2 sinks and the faucets for the restroom.
Okay.
I make a motion that we accept this bid and move forward with it for the
I'll
total
second.
70,700.
Motion by Duff, second by York. Discussion.
Under discussion, if I may, Mr. President,
Sure.
just to inform council of the calculation, and I believe it's in your packet. The reason why I was suggesting a 2-inch conduit under the footing, the price that I came up with all the tap fees and the like is $16,840 to bring city water all the way from Benstein Road into the project. The water main will not be accessible to the village until next year. And obviously, it doesn't make any sense if council wants to, at any time in the future, to bring city water. And obviously, the definition of city water in this case is Commerce Township water that they purchased from the city of Detroit. Obviously, it's very clean water, and it's not well water. So it would eliminate the need for any special treatment facilities. But it's a long directional drilling, 800 feet from Benstein Road all the way to the building. It would be less if we open cut, but we've got a lot of improvements. We've got the small kids play area and everything. It'd be just nice to be able to directionally drill it all the way to the building. So sometime in the future, if you wanted it, I wanted to make sure that you had a conduit going from the inside to the new addition out under the building and out underneath the new sidewalk heading to the west, so that if council wanted to in the future, they could tie into city water without having to dig up the floor and break up the concrete walk. So
That's not a big cost, is it, Mike?
what's not?
No, it's $250. It's
Bucks,
Yeah,
yeah.
$250 and it's right in your,
Do it.
it's in your
Sounds like
motion already.
disgusting.
Yeah, so, but that $16,840, unless we can negotiate with Commerce a little bit, because that has a number of their fees in it. That's quite a bit, and you may not want to initiate that now when it's gonna be next year before we have it available anyway.
Sounds good.
Well, for the
And that'll be
250
for the
bucks, it makes
future.
sense to do it though.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion as far as the building goes?
Yeah, let me say something. Mike Powell, I'd like to say that's very astute on your part to think of the future to save us down the road. And I, as a council and a resident, really appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Anybody else have anything? With that, roll call vote, I guess.
Okay. Sinkowitz,
Yes,
Nedrow,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Malik,
Yes,
Scott,
Yes.
York,
Yes.
Dumont.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr.
Couple other
Powell.
update. Yep, a couple other updates, Mr. President. The pathway, if you've been down Benstein Road, I know I'm excited because I'm a lot older from when we first started this. The pathway has been prepped all the way from the existing pathway at Claire Miller Park. We've prepped it in front of the home that is due north of the park. It's been prepped in front of the commercial center and Apple Orchard. The AT&T power pole has been moved. I have a meeting tomorrow morning with the road commission regarding the new curb that has to be installed in front of the apartment building there to allow the pathway to be extended to the drive on the Dairy Twist. We fully expect that we will have that pathway installed and paved this year. So it's kind of, it looks like it's going to come together. But so I wanted to update council in case you had any questions.
Been a while, hasn't it? Been a
Oh,
long
yes,
time going for this thing.
it has. I remind
Mr.
council that
President.
I remind council that this is a tri-party program project. So 2/3 of the cost is going to be borne by Oakland County and the Road Commission, and 1/3 by the village.
Mr. President, I'd like to ask Mr. Paul a question.
Sure, go ahead, Bob.
Well, I know this isn't on the agenda, but is there any development on the McCoy Pond? Or is this still in negotiations with the resident or?
I think maybe Leanne might have the latest on that. But we're all set engineering wise. The contractors have all called me. They're ready to go. But I believe that we have some legal issues that still haven't, the I's haven't been dotted.
Yeah,
All
there,
right,
the resident
okay,
was looking to have some set in stone assurances with respect to what would be contained in the easement agreement. And one of the issues actually, I think it looks like it will be addressed this evening related to nailing down what type of a fence would be separating the new piece of property from the resident's property. There was an issue just with being allowed to have a fence at all. And so we've updated the ordinance. And once you pass that, then we'll be able to discuss it more clearly with her. And I will say that Mr. Smith was negotiating, directly with her. And so I think things have been held up a little bit in that aspect is, since he's been gone, but really it was kind of a holdup to get this ordinance squared away. So I think once the new administrator comes on, they can immediately, get back with her. She was going to the property owner was going to refinance their property in order to allow, and that was another issue because she couldn't just split her property with a mortgage on it. So she had to go through the process with her bank to secure the approval to be able to take that piece of property that is under mortgage and then give it to the village. So it's still underway, but I think, shortly we'll be able to move forward with it further.
Actually, I think
Okay,
it's still moving forward faster than the Benstein pathway has been.
Yeah.
right.
Yes. Yes.
May I go back to the Benstein pathway?
Yep.
Mike, so the sod's been removed. Is that what we see right now when we drive by it? Is that going to be the substrate beneath the asphalt?
It is. There's been millings, asphalt millings have been placed down in the areas necessary, but the village is blessed with a wonderful sand and gravel substrate. And all the pathways in the village thus far have been placed right on the existing sand substrate. So it's going to be 3 inches thick of asphalt.
And is that going to be the grade where it's at now?
They'll still be, I want it about 2 inches above the sod. And so there'll be a little bit more grading that has to be done in order to allow that pathway to be about 2 inches high.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions at this point? I guess the last issue would be, Mike, if you could fill us in a little bit on the Shanking Court issue? That was a letter that council had received earlier in the week here.
I can, and I appreciate the ability to do this so that when council reads it, I've typically been able to solve most residents' problems when we have those. This particular resident has been upset at me, the village, Mike Smith, DPW, everyone involved in this project because we had to change the ditch line that is in front of his house. And I'm going to just briefly go through it. And if Rob can allow me to share my screen again, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So the cul-de-sac, this is Shanken Court cul-de-sac. The gentleman,
Mike, we're
Mr.
not seeing your screen.
Eccles
Not
is,
seeing anything yet.
We're not seeing the screen yet.
oh. Did I not choose that? I'm sorry. Let's see if I didn't choose the screen properly. Let's try share screen again. Can you see that?
No.
No,
no.
there should be a button in the lower right-hand corner that says share once you select what you want to share.
All right, let's see if we can do this. Okay, that project is up and it worked the last time, so I may have to just describe it for you. Oh, yep, Rob, I can't pull that up and I don't see the share screen.
I apologize about that. I'm not sure what's going on. I've got it
No
set
problem.
up so that multiple participants can share.
Okay. Oh, there's a share there.
Oh,
There we go.
All right. Let's see if this pulls up now. Can you see the cul-de-sac?
Yep.
Yep.
All right, great. So you can see the original size of the cul-de-sac there is in the light gray. We widened it by about 3 feet to allow for cars and emergency vehicles to traverse around the cul-de-sac without doing 3-point turns around the back side here. 1450 is where Mr. Eccles, Mr. and Mrs. Eccles live. And they are concerned because the ditch line that goes around the cul-de-sac used to drain all to the west. So we have these two homes on the west side, 1482 and 1484 is on the low side of the cul-de-sac. And Mr. and Mrs. Eccles are on 1450 here on the high side of the cul-de-sac. As a little sidelight, we put a new culvert underneath Mr. Eccles' drive, and we paved his driveway almost up to the right-of-way line. We put a new culvert underneath this homeowner here to the north because their culverts were in such bad shape, it didn't make any sense to pave a little bit of their driveway over a bad culvert. So the intent was that the ditch line would carry all the water. And what happened was all the water continued to flow. The natural water flowed all the way down and ponded and flooded these 2 yards on the west side. So I'm going to give you a little bit of an idea of what it was like. So the blue, this is Mr. Eccles' driveway. It came down to the side of cul-de-sac here. And this is the old part of the cul-de-sac, and it flowed all the way to the west, all the way down to the ditch line on the west side of the site. And the people on the west side virtually were being flooded out with 6-8 inches of water over their driveway. The Eccles were very upset with me because I designed the cul-de-sac to have their side of the cul-de-sac flow towards their house and into their ditch line instead of flowing all the way down to their neighbors. And so they are very, very upset that they never had water before. They do now because water flows into their ditch line. Keep in mind, the right of way is way up in their yard, way up here. And so the ditch line on their side of the road is now acting as a ditch is supposed to. Collect water from the road, hold it there until it perks away. And if you recall, we did put some storm sewer in to allow that water to perk away. But the Eccles are so upset because the water now flows towards their house into their ditch line, and instead of flowing down to their neighbor. I've tried very hard to work with them. They're not used to having water flowing towards their yard. They are experiencing some erosion as the water runs across their drive and into the ditch line. And I'm proposing to solve that with some sod, but their driveway comes down much steeper than any of the village water, and it runs down and also erodes down the side of the drive when it used to come all the way out onto the road and all the way over here. So it never did roll into their ditch line. I really apologize to council because I've always taken it as my responsibility to solve these, so you never have to hear about them. But the cul-de-sac is now designed and is functioning as a modern cul-de-sac. It flows from the center out both ways. The ditch line catches the water. It's operating exactly the way a brand new cul-de-sac would be designed. And so there's virtually nothing I can do short of just addressing their erosion issue as the water comes down their drive. And so I'm certainly here to answer any questions, but if you didn't read the letter, I appreciate the opportunity to share with you what happened. I have just not, let's put it this way, Mr. Eccles is not a fan of mine. Or I'm not, yeah, he's not a, I'm not a, anyway, he doesn't like me. So I just cannot meet his requirements. I want council to know that all the work was done within the road right of way. The ditches are operating exactly the way a ditch should. You own the property, and DPW and I went over this at length before we did anything. And so I wish I could say that I'm gonna eventually please him and his wife, but it is what it is.
Mike, when was this done?
This was done, quite frankly, the paving was done last year, but the ditch lines were all done this spring.
Okay.
And remember, we put that new storm sewer in?
Yes. Yep.
And so it has really worked so well. It still holds water in some of the ditches, but 2 hours later, it's gone. And it takes care of 90% of the water, even during a rain. So I've been very, very pleased knowing that we don't have a storm sewer in this area to carry any water away. Mm-hmm. I just can't be more pleased in the way it's working. But the other, I just have to tell you, the other homeowners have long since seeded, maintained their yard, and they have no problems. I've touched base with them. I've had one-on-one meetings with them. They're very pleased. They know that when it rains in the spring, we may get some really rainy times in the spring. They know that they may need to have this ditch line widened if in fact they get any major rains, but only Mr. and Mrs. Eccles are upset, and everyone else is mowing their yard and living their life the way we want the residents to.
My question on that too, I mean, the Eccles property is way above elevation wise from that ditch line. That ditch line's just adjacent to the road there. So, I mean, if there's a little water pooling in the ditch, it's not going to be any major concern for them on their house.
Yeah, they're 8 feet above the road. So there's no issue at all. Whereas the other house, it would actually flood their drive and everything the way it was before.
Okay. Yeah. Appreciate the update on it. So
thank you.
I guess when,
thank you for your patience, council.
When the rest of council reads the letter, they'll at least know what it's about.
Yes, thank you.
And I don't think there's any other updates that we need from Mr. Powell at this point.
Oh, thank you, Mike.
Okay,
Yeah,
Thanks,
Thank you,
Mike.
Michael.
Okay, that, we have no public hearing, so we get to move along to new business item A. Contract for our new administrator. Mr. Condek, do you want to start with this?
I think, Mike Powell, you want to stop sharing your screen.
Oh, that's what's wrong. I may have to get out and try to figure out how to do that.
Should be at the bottom, actually at the top.
Take a short night, Mike.
Just move your cursor up to the top and something will pop down to say stop sharing.
All right, for some reason, I'll tell you what, I'll log out and log back in.
All right.
Okay, thanks. All right,
There we go.
we're back. Here we go.
You're back already.
Oh, yeah.
I saw you, Malik. I saw you, Malik. You can't hide.
Okay, Mr. Condek,
Mr. President, we have a contract that council should find with their information, with their packet. It essentially is built off the same contract that Mike Smith signed in March of 2019. What the major feature, though, that's different is that Mr. Gillum, by virtue of the fact that he has health care provided to him by his current employer, the city of Royal Oak, and that will last far into his retirement. He's opted out of that, and by doing so, that's a substantial savings to the village. And then, other than that, that's really the only differences. He's agreed to the number of holidays. The starting salary is $85,000, as compared to the $80,000 that Mr. Smith started with. But other than that, there you are.
well, thank you.
Mr. President, I make a motion that we accept the contract as written and offer it to Mr. Gillum.
Second.
There's actually a specific motion, if you don't mind,
Resolution?
Mr. Duff, if you see under A there, where this is basically what we did with Mr. Smith.
Okay.
There's some specific wording there, I think, that we use. I don't know that it's substantially different, but if we could have that resolution, that
Sure,
would be better.
that works.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so
can
that
read it.
resolution states, now therefore be resolved that David Gillum is hereby appointed and employed to serve as village administrator and clerk, and that the employment agreement between the village of Wolverine Lake and David Gillum be and hereby is approved. So that was the resolution I believe Mr. Duff agreed to.
Yep.
And that
Stinkowitz.
Mr. York seconded. Leanne, did you have a question?
I just wondered if there was a start date determined, if you want to state that or not.
He needs to give 30 days notice to his current employer, the city of Royal Oak. He expects to be here sometime mid-November. He may want to take a couple of days vacation. We talked about that, he and I did earlier this morning. So it's sort of using 30 days. We don't have a specific date, but I think we can come up with one shortly.
I'm not worried about the start date.
Yeah, I'm not either.
I am.
Well, I mean,
That's
yes.
fine then. I just thought if you
Okay.
had one, you could
I
include
mean, I
that,
leave
but
that up to you, Mike, to figure that out, but
Okay,
you need to include that in the motion.
any other discussion on the motion?
Sure. Mike Kondak, if you would, there's a $5,000 increase in the wage salary. What is the different, or I don't know, it's probably difficult because it's a group, but being that you do what you do for a living, what about do you think it would cost for healthcare? What are we saving in a person's healthcare?
Yeah, it's for a two-person plan. It's all age-based now. They don't have those bands, family bands, two-person, all that stuff. But for two people, I don't know his wife's age, but approximating that, I think that when I said the net savings was $13,000, I think a plan for them would cost about 22. One of the nice perks we have here by virtue of being employed by the village is that you can save, or you get 40% of that. You specially pay to you once a year. That's true. Anybody, any employee. And so 22, he's going to make around 8, and that kicks in after a year, by the way. So it won't kick in 2020. It'll be first payable in 2021. But I calculate the net savings to the village of about $13,000.
Oh, great.
Okay. Anything else?
Good
Roll
question,
call
David.
vote.
Thanks.
Roll call vote, please.
Nedrow,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Malik.
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
York,
Yes.
Dumont,
Yes.
Sinkowitz.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, council. Next item is MERS adoption agreement addendum. And
This
I
is
think
something new, Mr. President. I've not seen this come across my desk during my time here. Talking to our representative, our contact person at MERS, this is something that MERS is doing system-wide. They're not singling us out or anything, but they simply want it very clear as to who gets benefits when and what sort of benefits they are. I've got about 16 pages worth of crossing the T's and dotting the I's, but some of the things are ensuring that we're not paying or we're not offering it to part-timers or seasonal employees or, sorry, council, you. And making sure that we don't have a probationary period. It's simply a reiteration of the policies that we currently have in effect. For someone to get credit for a month's worth of retirement benefit, they have to work 80 hours. We're putting that all to, putting it in a form that MERS will have on file so that in case there's any questions or disputes, they'll have that. I could go over it with you, but I thought the details were so mundane. There was no surprises in it.
Sure.
Nothing that I think was nothing that we haven't already been doing. Let's put it that way.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. So we have another resolution here that we.
I make a motion that we accept the agreement.
I second that.
And that was to make sure we go forward with that resolution that
Yeah.
stated. Okay. That was a motion by Duff, second by Mr. Malik. That was correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Duff,
Yes.
Malik.
Yeah.
Scott,
Yes.
York,
Yes.
Dumont,
Yes.
Sinkowitz,
Yes.
Nedrow.
Yes. Thank you. The next one, recommendation from the Water Management Board is request council release funds for the annual fish stocking program and to stock northern pike based on a DNR stocking rotation recommendation not to exceed $2,500.
So moved.
Motion.
Hey,
Okay,
Mr.
that was a
President,
motion by Dumont, second by,
Actually, I think it was actually my motion, but I'll second it.
No, let's make it Mark's motion.
Heavy Mark's motion, seconded by Mr. Dumont.
Yeah, perfect.
Discussion.
When will this happen, Mr. President?
I have
Generally, we
already,
stock. Go ahead, Mike.
I'm sorry.
Go
I've already
ahead.
reached out to DNR. They have acquiesced to our request. They don't have any problem with pike. We haven't done pike since 2009. They just say a limited number, which is pretty subjective. Once I have an approval from them, I actually have to fill out a form now, knowing that now you've signed off on that. Once I get that approval, I contact our supplier of those fish. That's the Imlay City Fish Farm. They said that they have them available. Last year, for example, we put walleye in the lake at the end of the month, like around the 29th. I would assume the date would be probably right around there as well.
That would be the 29th of October or November?
No, October.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Anything else? Anybody?
Yeah, and maybe this could be directed more to John Scott. I remember when I was on the Water Management Board, we were talking about stocking and we were talking about walleye, and the way it was presented was that we are stocking the lake with walleye, but it's just like stocking a fishmonger's case because they can't reproduce in our lake, or at least the odds are low. With northern pike, do they reproduce with no problem in our lake?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Quite readily too.
Yeah. And there's no fear of having too many, right?
No.
No.
If I could, Mr. President, when we put them in the lake in 2009, we only put in, I think it was between 70 and 80. 70, 14 to 16 inch pipe.
Wow. Nice.
The $2,400 worth of pike and then $100 drop off fee, if you will, or transportation charge, and we're
Yeah.
good to go.
We'll probably have to have feeder fish next year.
They're on the rotation, I believe.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, we have motion, so roll call vote, please.
Alec,
Bob,
Who'd
Malik?
they ask?
Malik?
Yes.
Okay, Scott,
Yes.
Yes.
York,
Yes.
Dumont,
Yes.
Sinkowitz,
Yes.
Joe,
yes.
Duff.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Item D, recommendation from Police Chief Ellsworth to purchase a new Dodge Charger patrol vehicle through Zot Dodge and White Lake, the amount of not to exceed 28.5.
So moved.
Second.
That was a motion by Duff, second by York.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, we knew this was coming and it's budgeted. We talked about it several times, so.
yep.
Yeah.
John, any comments, Chief?
Just that I did go with Zot. There was a lot of changing. Obviously, Schumann's has changed to LaFontaine, and we weren't exactly sure what we were going to get or when we were going to get it. I haven't built a relationship with LaFontaine yet, and Zot has been after me to go with them for a long time. They've sat down with me, and I was very pleased with the negotiations, and they're gonna do us well. So I'm
Good.
kind of excited to start this and see where it goes.
Super.
Just as a note, the 2021, to get an all-wheel drive, you can no longer get a Hemi. So we're going with the 6-cylinder. We're going to hope that this works out well, but that's kind of where we're at.
Chief, which vehicle will be departing the department?
Well, if you remember, we have a 2016 Dodge Charger in service. What I'm going to do is swap out the exact equipment as much as I can with that. And that's actually the next item on our agenda. With that, I'm getting new overheads because the overheads we've had were actually robbing Peter to pay Paul. As many of you know, we've actually had to take the light bulbs out of some of them to rebuild the other 2 that are still in service. So as I replace the patrol cars, I'm replacing the overheads also.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Great. When do we expect to see that?
Probably mid-January, maybe the end of January.
Okay.
It takes some time, obviously, because they, tomorrow morning, I'm going to make a phone call and he's going to place the order.
Great. Okay, super.
And being in the automotive industry, there's not a lot of cars out there right now, so.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Scott,
Yes.
York,
Yes.
Dumont,
Yes.
Sinkowitz,
Yes.
Nedrow,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Malik,
Yes.
Okay, next item is recommendation, Police Chief Ellsworth to have Canfield equipment removed, replace, rebuild, install police equipment for the new patrol vehicle, the amount not to exceed 67,7305.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Motion by Duff, second by, who was that?
York.
Second? York got it again.
Yeah.
Okay, any discussion on that?
I'd just
Roll
like to
call.
say, oh, go ahead. Never mind. Go.
Roll
Go.
call vote.
York,
Yes.
Dumont,
Yes.
Sinkowitz,
Yes.
Nedrow,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Malik,
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Sorry, Walt, I cut you off there.
Oh, no worries. No.
Any comments or? Okay. Item F, introduction of the first reading of the ordinance 106A-113, which is zoning ordinance dealing with off-street parking. And this is to basically allow commercial vehicles in residential areas. So the commercial vehicles are, we've got a list or basically a recommendation as of what those vehicles are, a definition. But we weren't allowing any commercial vehicles of, so essentially a small van that somebody might drive for DTE or Comcast or whatever. Even a car with a F-150 with a commercial plate on it was not allowed technically. And with not only how things have changed with COVID here, but the way business has been going recently, and people are driving a lot of commercial vehicles home, and they're using those for their primary transportation. So planning looked at it and thought it'd be prudent to take a look and change the ordinance to
Mr.
allow.
President, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt that for the first reading.
Introduce, yep.
Reintroduce, sorry.
Okay, motion by Duff.
Second.
That was second by
Second.
Malik. Any other discussion on that?
Yes. I don't have a problem with pickup trucks and vans and vehicles, but when you get dump trucks and all that stuff, I don't know why, but it seems like this last year, Oakview has got one of the narrowest parts of the street where there's always stuff blocking it. There's only one lane on Oakview.
Well,
You come down Oakview.
It's
where that
vehicles
turn-
10,000 pounds or less, Ed.
10,000 pounds or less, Ed, and those are commercial vehicles. So, I mean, if somebody's got residential plates on a dump truck, I guess they can park it in their driveway, but,
Right.
you know, like I said, we're just trying to relax it so that people.
No, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, okay. Well, if you look at the definition, we had a lot of discussion on this on planning. And we didn't want box trucks. We didn't want, big state trucks and all kinds of heavy trailers and stuff around. So this is only for commercial vehicles in this section here. So that's clarification on that. So any other discussion? Okay, roll call.
Dumont,
Who is that?
Dave,
Dumont,
Dumont,
Yes, forgive me.
Sinkowitz,
Yes.
Nedrow,
yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Malik,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
York,
Yes.
Okay, item G is introduction first reading of 106A-114, which is basically the definitions to go along with that commercial vehicle definition in our ordinances. So that's essentially what
moved.
that is. That was a motion by, I think, Duff,
Second.
second by York. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Sinkowitz,
Yes.
Nedrow,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Malik,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
York,
Yes.
Dumont.
Yes.
Okay, next item H, introduction, first reading of ordinance 106A-115. And this is for the fence arbor trellis issue that Leanne was alluding to earlier. We took a look at, there was a couple areas, I guess the one area by the algae pond over off of Clarny there, and which Leanne was saying about the screening, that basically it's a fence going to be next to the property there between it would be the lot that the couple is going to be deeding to the village for that property.
Excuse me,
they
Mr.
would-
President?
Yep,
This ordinance is actually about the 6-foot tall fences in a side yard, the screening.
side yard, okay, yep. So that refers to the parcel right next to the park over in Adelaide, correct?
The next ordinance. This is the change to allow 6-foot
okay.
tall in a side yard.
Yeah, okay. We've had a couple of them here. So there was a lot of ZBA cases that were coming before us regarding 6-foot side yard privacy fences. And our fence ordinance, the way it was existing, allowed 48-inch fences. And we saw quite a few of them that way, so we decided to look at it from planning, and planning talked to the police department. Chief had no issues with going with a 6-foot in the side yard. And in some cases for dogs or whatever, we thought that that might be okay. A lot of other communities do allow that, so we decided to relax and allow 6-foot side yard privacy fences in side yards. So that's
This doesn't pertain to lakefront, does it?
only in a side yard, Ed.
Okay.
Okay, so nothing in front of the house or on either end as far as lakesfront is concerned. And
Yeah,
off lake, it would be anything off just the front of the house.
Because
I
we've
did-
seen where you put, bushes that are 2 feet tall, and then in 3 or 4 years, they're 5 feet tall.
Right, yep.
Yeah, that was my question. I read through the ordinance and it wasn't clear, like, is it only alongside your house or can you go further past your house?
No, it's just in the side yard only.
Yard can be all the way down to the end of your property, which is what Ed was alluding to.
Well, no, because actually the side yard would be considered a front yard if it's in
Yes.
front of your house.
Okay. Okay.
So
Well,
by
as long as
definition,
we can enforce it, I'm
We
okay.
have 2 front yards. Well,
Mr. President?
Yes.
Mr. President, I'd like to take and do point of order and actually make a motion so we can actually discuss this.
Ah,
okay. I hear a motion then.
second.
Now we can discuss it.
Thanks,
Okay,
Mark.
that was a motion by Duff, second by York. Okay, so any other discussion on it?
so we're gonna allow a 6-foot high fences now?
Just in the side yard.
I don't know. It seems like that's a lot of fence.
Well, I like it, but my only concern is that it doesn't designate how far you can go. In my mind, it should state that it can only be along from the edge of your house, from the front to the back.
Actually, current ordinance defines the yards and explains that in the definition section.
Yeah.
So
is
it
it-
is there in the definition section of what is a front, side, rear, and lakefront yard.
Okay, so from that, we're just gonna allow from 4 foot to 6 foot
Correct.
and not change the rest. Okay, then I'm okay.
And Mark and I can attest to how many
Oh, yes.
come in. And it's just crazy. It's just the normal course of
Yeah.
business in the village right now, really. So,
What was that? I missed that. What's the normal?
Yeah, ZBA, we've seen a lot of cases with this, and it's almost exclusively side yard issues where the height is the problem. And it's just a ridiculous thing where you deal with people that already have existing structures and stuff like that. This really simplifies it and makes it so much easier for ZBA to not have to hear these cases that are already existing.
And technically, that's the way the process should work. I mean, if you do get a lot of change in zoning or a lot of requests for variances because of maybe you need to look at a change in zoning, that's what planning is supposed to do. They're supposed to go back and look at the ordinance, reflect upon what the community is seeing, and then change the ordinance if necessary to adopt the policy. So that's actually working the way it should be.
What is the maximum height of a fence now in our village?
6 feet.
Okay.
once this passes. Well,
Yeah.
I guess the
40
back.
Right
It's
now,
maximum height was 6 feet anyways, because you can't
Okay.
have anything over a 6-foot fence in a rear yard.
Oh,
Correct, yeah.
So it was just, and again, we're not changing anything front yard. So, okay. Any other discussion on this? Roll call, please.
Nedrow,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Malik,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
York,
yes.
Dumont,
Yes.
Sinkowitz.
Yes.
Okay, item I, introduction and first reading of ordinance 106-116. This is what I was trying to refer to last time, which is, actually, we're gonna allow 6-foot fences to, abut a commercial property as a buffer between commercial and residential. Or
Mr. President, I'd like to
non-residential
make a
and
motion on
residential.
that.
Yeah, so not necessarily commercial, but in this respect, it was over off the park over off of Adelaide, where the neighbor, because we're putting the park in there, they didn't really have any screening and didn't feel that they should have to put a concrete retaining wall in or anything of that sort, which was what we had on the books before. So this is basically allowing that to fit, and I think that does make some sense. Planning looked at it, and so that's what we're looking at here. And I think this probably pertains to the same property over by the algae pond too, possibly. Leanne, is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So she might be looking at putting a 6-foot fence on the side yard of her house then,
Correct.
as a buffer. So, okay.
Because as stated now, it would have had to be like some sort of a landscape berm or concrete. So that's not
Right.
really.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
So this is just trying to make things a little bit more consistent that way. So any other questions on that before we have a motion?
No motion.
Okay, motion by Duff.
I think David was
Or
first.
Was that a motion by Dave?
Yeah.
Yes.
Motion by Dave. Was that a second by Duff then?
Sure.
Okay. Any other discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Duff,
Yes.
Malik,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
York,
Yes.
Dumont,
Yes.
Sinkowitz,
Yes.
Nedrow,
Yes. Okay.
I think we lost our leader.
Yeah, he's frozen.
What's that?
Oh, there he is.
There you are.
My internet connection is unstable. Uh-oh. Huh. Item J is interim administrator conduct, request council to move into closed session to discuss the current attorney-client privilege communication in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. Immediately after agenda item 16. So we need a roll call on that, please.
You need a
So
motion.
moved.
don't you?
What's that?
You need a motion and second first. don't you?
Make that motion, go into closed
Yep.
session.
Second.
Motion by Malik, second by Duff. All in favor, roll call vote.
Malik,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
York,
Yes.
Dumont,
Yes.
Sinkowitz,
Yes.
Nedrow,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Okay, set topics for the October 28th work session.
I make a motion that we forego it.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Malik. Any discussion on that? Roll call, please.
Scott,
Yes.
York,
Yes.
Dumont,
Yes.
Sinkowitz,
Yes.
Nedrow,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Malik,
Uh-oh.
Malik,
Again, huh?
Yes.
Okay. I don't think we have any pending business, I don't believe.
First one.
So.
What
with
was that?
I said, I don't believe we have any pending business.
Oh.
So with that, update from Police Chief Ellsworth.
Mr. President, if I could,
Okay.
Councilman York wanted to add an item L, DPW staffing.
Oh, I'm sorry. I blazed right past it. Jeez.
About that too. Thanks, Mike.
I had it written down too. Sorry, guys. Okay, item L, DPW staffing level. Go ahead, Walt.
Well, I was talking to Andy the other day, and he mentioned that being one man down is been hard on them since Hunter left, and then it becomes more hard in the winter because all three of them have to be on call for snowplow. So his request was that we entertain discussion to hire the fourth person, or at least open it up that he could start recruiting for a fourth person.
Hmm.
Walt, was that conversation about a seasonal person or a permanent full year round?
No, it was permanent, but we can discuss seasonal too, but
Yeah, but you gotta remember in the wintertime, what's their big project is plowing snow. They don't have any leaves, they don't have any lake responsibility, don't have any lawn cutting. So 3 guys to plow the snow, the rest of the time, they're building bathrooms.
As
All right.
Ed mentioned, we've been trying to get with the DPW to go into negotiations. They were the ones that wanted to open the contract up. We had a date and for some reason it got canceled here recently, but I know we were hoping to go into negotiations. That was supposed to have been taking place back in July or previous to July even.
Wasn't it the last time they wanted to do it in person?
I believe that was correct. So
one of the other discussions with Andy was, so there's vacations coming up, because, basically most of them are, or actually all of them are hunters. So with leaf collection coming up through November, October, November, they're not going to have anybody to support, right? Or it's going to be like a 1-man crew or a 2-man crew. So I'm open to seasonal or discussion of it. I just wanted to bring it up tonight. That's all.
Well, Walt, I think you're right in bringing it up. And I think we do need a 4th person because we can dump money into parks, into the lake, everything else. Why not into maintaining our community? And I think we should entertain hiring a full-time person.
Yeah, and all the complaints we get during leaf collection.
Then,
Well, we
Walt,
have
if I might recommend that you just make a motion,
me
on that,
finish,
that's
if I
probably
may.
proper.
Let me finish. We had 4 people. It worked fine. We didn't run into situations. They covered vacations and everything that was involved. I think we should entertain hiring a full-time person. Thank you.
All right.
I
Well, sounds
think
like
you
you made a
should let-
motion, Bob. I'll second it.
okay, that was a motion
You're
by
right.
Malik, second by York.
Don't you think the negotiation committee should have something to say about it?
No, what's there to negotiate, Ed? We need the person.
What do you mean
We
what's there
had
to
4.
negotiate?
4
Hey,
worked.
hey,
Let's go back to
what's the motion, please? Let's get that out first, and then we'll go.
Well, that we look into hiring the
We
4th
look
person to
into
fill the
hiring a
spot
4th.
that Hunter left.
Yeah.
look into.
Well, and that's more than just a 5-minute dissertation at this point, because I mean, there's lots of things we need to look at. We need to look at whether it's going to be a full-time position, a part-time position, which was brought up here tonight.
Well, I think that needs to be clarified within their motion.
My motion was to hire a full-time person.
There you go.
And I
Okay.
seconded it.
But then it was changed to look into.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't
President,
changed. It wasn't changed by,
No, it wasn't changed by him. And my point was that we start the looking into hiring somebody.
Okay, so the motion is to hire a 4th man.
Yeah.
Yes.
A
Okay.
a 4th full-time DPW employee. Is that correct?
Yes.
yeah.
Mr. President, I understand that Mr. Conduct is only an interim administrator, but in all of my time, both serving on council and watching council and being involved in audience, isn't this a discussion that normally goes first through the administrator and the DPW?
I
was under
believe
the
that's
impression
been what's
organizationally-
happened in the past, yeah.
Yeah, I believe organization, unless we're on council, now going to take up the micromanagement of this village. I think the structure has always been that the administrator is the person to whom police and the DPW report to, plus administration. And I think I'm also sensitive to what Ed says, is that there is negotiations coming up. You're just setting a precedent that allows the negotiations to go in one direction only. I think what you said, also, Walt, I totally agree with. Well, there ought to be some concept or some allowance that Andy can think about looking at that replacement, but I think he has to work through the channels properly.
I agree, John. Thank you.
You're welcome. So we have a new administrator coming board. I mean, why don't we give him a chance to execute some of his power and strength?
Absolutely. Good
I
point,
totally
John.
agree with that, so.
And if I may,
I'll say one thing that's a little risky. Oh, forgive me, Leanne.
I was just going to say that that is supported by the charter and ordinances as far as the organizational, as Mr. Scott had stated.
Right.
So I
Another
prepared to have Hunter hired because I wanted a fourth man, and I understand what it's like. Because I might look a little soft, but I'm on wrenches day to day, and I know what it's like to work with people. We talked to the DPW during the last negotiation extensively. We thought about it a lot, and I said, "Let's do the fourth man." Right now, because things are, and this is going to be controversial, because I'm flipping a little bit here, and I'm okay with that. And that's that we consider maybe farming out some of the work because of the lack of consistency with our federal and state policies. We keep having to adapt, and it's easier to adapt if you have someone that's farmed out. And I don't know how that would work with dealing with the union. I'm a union member, by the way, but I don't know what it's like to deal with that, and I can't think of the acronym. But the DPW is holder. I would say wait, but I do also want to arm our branches like the DPW with the things they need. So there's a split there that I would be open to hearing anybody's advice on.
Well, I think it's
Mr.
prudent to look
President?
into it. Go ahead. I think
You
Mr.
know,
Condack wants something to say.
It's, somebody brought up it's deer hunting season. Everybody who is a deer hunter that works at a place, seniority has its privileges. And you can't have all three guys leaving the same time, the same week. But the other thing is the administrative committee interviewed our last 3 administrators. And one of them felt it was really necessary to have a third man. And when he left, all 3 of them said the same thing.
You mean a fourth man?
The fourth man was not that much of a benefit because it seemed like production every place else went down.
Based on what?
Based on their remarks and what they had to deal with. That's Miller and
Nathan Bird.
Yeah. They felt that it wasn't beneficial and it was financially not a success. I guess you could say that. But I think during the summer months, like you say, you got another little park to clean up. You got this here and that here. Yeah, there should be that.
Well, I think prudently, Hunter just left here, what?
Month or so ago.
So, I think it would be good to look at it at this point, but I think there's different avenues that possibly we could look at going. But I think Mr. Scott's correct in his thoughts. DPW ought to go through administration on it. And, that's been a tough thing the last couple months here, obviously, but I know we definitely need to look at that and make sense to look forward on it, try to figure out which way to go with it, whether it goes through, the administration and then goes along to the administrative level on council, and then council moves forward from there.
Mr. President.
We did discuss this.
I'll retract my second if Bob will retract his motion.
I'll retract my motion. You guys do whatever you like.
Okay.
I would ascertain a motion that, or actually I'd make a motion that we take and recommend that the administrator going forward actually entertains the idea of hiring a fourth or investigates it, whether it be seasonal or full-time position.
I'll second that, Mark.
There was a second by York, correct? Any
More or
discussion
less.
on that?
You can give it to Scott, actually. Give it
Okay,
to
I'll give it
John.
to Scott then. Any other discussion on that?
Well, yeah, I do have discussion.
Okay,
Now, this is going to go to the committee. We're going to bring in a new administrator, hopefully by the end of next month. And then
Mhm.
that committee's going to wait for another month. So that means by February or March, we might consider something.
Well, Bob, to be
I'd
perfectly
like-
honest with you,
wait a
that
minute.
wasn't within my motion. My motion was to have the administrator, which currently is Mr. Condit, investigate whether or not a full-time or part-time position for a fourth member is necessary.
That's fine. But what's going to happen is at our next meeting, somebody's going to make motion that, well, we got a new administrator that's going to start in 3 weeks. Why don't we wait for him? I don't want to see it delayed. We need it to progress. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
okay. Anything else? Okay, roll call.
I think the motion was withdrawn, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
No, but then Duff made a second motion
Mark made a second motion.
that the administrator investigate. Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mark. You're absolutely correct.
No worries.
You seconded it, John.
I did second it. Yes. All in
Bye.
favor?
So I just want to clarify, I have motion by Duff, second by Scott, to have the administrator investigate whether a fourth person is to be considered to be hired. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's correct.
And whether or not it's a full-time or a seasonal position.
All right, I can add full-time or seasonal position.
Okay. That was a roll call, I guess.
Oh, sorry. York,
Yes.
Dumont,
Yes.
Sinkowitz,
Yes.
Nedrow,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Malik,
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
And I do want to say that admin or the negotiating committee did meet here. This was probably what, back in August, I think?
Yeah.
Is that correct, Mike? And we did discuss looking at that. But we were trying to get into negotiations at that point, so we didn't think it was fair to move forward until we had some idea of negotiations.
Yeah, and if I could, Mr. President, elaborate on the hangup, I think union leadership, i.e. the local, was proposing or had it in their mind all along if they wanted to be able to negotiate virtually. And rank and file here didn't want any part of that. They wanted to continue with face-to-face negotiations. We would have been okay, I guess, under the existing ground rules where we would have less than 10 people. But again, I think the union leadership trumped the whole thing and just thought that they'd want to wait until the new administrator was on board. And when that happened, they could simply go from there.
So was that Trump the whole thing or was it Biden the whole thing? Sorry, I just
Don't go there.
political humor here, sorry.
No.
Humor is allowed.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, anything further on DPW at this point? Seeing none, we'll proceed with Police Chief Ellsworth's update.
Hi.
Hi.
I've got a couple of things tonight. First of all, I wanted to talk about Halloween and trick or treating. I wanted to make sure everybody knew that this is not a village sanctioned event, but rather a nationally recognized holiday. So we, other than announcing the suggested trick or treating hours, we don't have a lot of control over it. I put out, along with, thanks to Tabitha, we put out an email and posted on our Facebook pages some guidance regarding trick-or-treating. So if you get a chance to look at those, I did the lower risk activities, moderate risk activities, and then the high risk activities. Obviously, going door to door is a high risk activity. We as a police department will not be handing out candy this year. We're going to try to minimize our contact. Obviously, we think that's probably for the best this year. I did want to update you on something that made some news, and I'm sure most of you saw on either Channel 4 or 7 or 2 or one of those that last Friday, October 9th, officers responded to a residence on Lakeview for a missing 87-year-old who was beginning to show signs of dementia. And Sergeant Morosco and Officer Crick took the initial information, and within 2 hours, we had a statewide bulletin placed, and a group of us searched along the routes of possible travel. It was a long night, obviously, for the family and the police department. But at 7:30 a.m. Saturday morning, I received a call from the Detroit Police Department's 11th Precinct supervisor, who notified me that they had found this woman safe and that they were taking her back to the station where she was reunited with her family. But so it was a very long, emotional evening, obviously. And there were many parking lots that were checked between here and all of the hospitals locally. But my officers did a fantastic job, Sergeant Morosco and Officer Crick. And thank you for the community for stepping up. A lot of them were a great support to the family, and I appreciate that. One last thing is I wanted to thank you, Mr. Scott, for your years of support, as well as Linda and you have been great supporters of the police department. And we wish you great health and happiness in your future endeavors.
Thank you, Chief. I appreciate that.
Update from Treasurer Interim Administrator Condick.
Just a couple of things, Mr. President. First of all, people should have noticed by now the implementation of the pedestrian signal on the corner of South Commerce and Glengarry. It's not one of those push button deals, but nevertheless, it should help people from entering or crawling into the crosswalk, as they are wont to do. When I say people, I meant cars. So we'll see how that works. Andy wanted me to represent or point out to you or tell you that we were going to be storing some of the barge materials on site. He's been very diligent about cleaning out the back part of the yard, past the salt shed, where there have been some things stored there over the years. We're not proposing to store the raft or anything like that. The idea is that, there's carpeting, there's smaller materials that we'd be able to put in a shed, which would be a great help to the Onwards and Upwards folks, the people that put on, the show, the fireworks show, in conjunction with us. Frank Walsh weighed in this morning and wanted me to express his congratulations to you for selecting a candidate. He referred to the current climate as being very challenging. He's still in the business. He's, there's just a lot of openings and not as many people applying for him as maybe in years past. So he's finishing up a couple of processes and moving on and continuing in his career, but he just wanted to congratulate us on that. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you, Mike. As far as council comments goes, I think I'm going to start out for a change. Since this is the last council meeting that this council is going to be together, I was really trying to push for this meeting to be in person. So I felt that these Zoom meetings are possibly more convenient for some while being entirely more difficult for others. And that it would be nice to see everyone in person again. I want to thank you for all your service over the last 2 years. We've accomplished a lot, this council has. I'll say it's been some interesting times, but truly been honored to serve as your council president. I want to thank John Scott for his service in the village through his various positions on the water board, and along with all the other activities that he has been part of, along with his wife there. And she was present on, she was on council also. John, I'll truly miss your presence in this community when you move. Ed and Walt, I wish you the best on the upcoming election. You both have brought a lot to this council, as have all the rest of the council members that will continue to serve for the next 2 years. I don't know if I'll be here or not for the next meeting. It'll also be up to the village residents. I encourage everyone to get out and vote for the candidates of your choice, as every one of your votes do count. I also want to thank all the village board and commission members, along with all of our consultants. I'm not sure that there'll be an appreciation dinner or get together this year due to COVID, but I hope there will be. And I know that the village appreciates all you do for us. I want to thank all the village staff, especially for their effort during this period of COVID. This pandemic has been very difficult for everyone, and we appreciate you more than I can express. The office staff has done a great job and stepped up. The DPW's kept up services that we've always come to rely on, especially as more residents were home for the most part of this COVID time period here. Chief John Ellsworth, thank you for your continued leadership through this difficult time. You captained a great ship. You've helped keep this community safe. I especially want to thank Mike Kondek for stepping in as our interim administrator again. You are here. You're an awesome treasurer, and you're always willing to step in and help out this community when we need it. You've been a great asset to the village. I've enjoyed working with you again in this short stint, and I'm sorry for the fact that you two will be leaving us at some point soon. With that, God bless the village of Wolverine Lake, as this community is our home. So that's my comments tonight. We'll move over to Mr. Scott, I guess.
Well, I want to say, I think it's been somewhere around 16 to 17 years. I've had the pleasure of working on a lot of different boards with a lot of different people. Seen a lot of decisions made and a lot not made, but overall, it's been one of the best participations that I've had, and I'm going to miss all you guys. So have a good one. Or as they say, my work is done here.
Well, thank you. Ed?
Was that me you called?
Yep. I
Okay, I
kind
didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
of jumped over Walt, but we'll go with Ed and then we'll go to Walt.
Okay. The only thing I wanted to mention was that I'm glad to see that crosswalk is in, but I think before winter comes in, those white stripes need to be repainted. Everybody cruises through them so much and they're almost gone. So I think that would be very beneficial with the new crosswalk signs to have the stripes painted on the road if we can before winter.
Okay.
That's it.
Walt?
First, I'd like to thank Mike, as you said, Brian, for stepping up to take on the temporary administrator role. I know you're going to retire soon. In my short term here of 2 years, you're just a great guy and a great asset to our community, and you will be severely missed. Next, John Scott. You are just an elegant man.
Really.
You bring just a great calmness to what we do here, and I thank you for that. And you'll be severely missed as well. And you've taught me a lot in the last 2 years. I appreciate that. And best wishes to you and Linda in the future.
Same to you, Walt. Good luck come the next election. Believe me.
Thank you.
You should be sitting there. I hope you are.
Thanks.
Hey, thank you. Dave?
Yeah. That's tough. I'll tell you, you guys don't see me like this. I get that. But I care for those that I care for. Maybe a little too much. I'm hoping this can get edited out somehow on YouTube.
No, you got to live with it, David.
You know, 2014, there was this bald-headed guy in the end of the council that pointed to me in the audience, we'll call it, the public, and said, "Hey, can you stick around after this meeting?" That was John Scott.
You're referring to me?
He was just as beautiful then. And he said, "Can you stick around?" And the meeting's going on. I had answered a couple questions that were mechanical that many maybe wouldn't unless you're in my industry, and I'm in heavy industry, big pipes and things. And John Scott got me on introduced me to the way to get onto our water management board, which I served for, I think, about 3 years, roughly, John.
I think so. Yep.
That's about right. And then an opening came up because we lost a councilman due to movement. He moved out of the state. So then there was an application available that would be an appointment. Well, John's wife was running for that same appointment. That's something maybe people don't know, but but if you know John's wife, she's awesome. She's would have been a much better candidate than me. So now I'm running against these people. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm a plumber. I'm a construction worker, and I end up in the interview, and I get a call from John McGee at the time. Says, "Yeah, you're a councilman now," and that's how somebody like me ends up here. It's by accident. But I want to thank John. We have sat down many times and spoke about. Now, John and I don't see eye to eye on everything, but he is the reason I am involved, negative or positive. Those of you who don't like me, but also I wouldn't have been here if it weren't for that man. And I'm glad that John is going out healthy and happy and smiling. And forgive my rant, but it's a good dude.
Thanks, David.
Mark,
Been a pleasure working with you all, and John Scott, wish you the best in your future endeavors. I've learned a lot from you, learned a lot from Ed. Again, good luck. It's been a pleasure working with you guys.
okay, Mr.
Thank you,
Malik.
Mark.
Yeah, Mr. Dumont, do yourself a favor, fly your own flag a little more, because you're not a novice. You've worked hard for 2 years and you've done a good job. We all make mistakes. That's part of being human. So please accept my blessing. You've done well. All right.
I agree with you, Bob.
Mr. Scott, we have been at odds in the past, nothing drastic, but I think it's because we both have a passion for our community. And it's been a pleasure to have sat in with all you people. Don't know who will and who won't be back after this election. All I have to say is, for those of you that are paying attention to this meeting, please get out and vote. The community needs your support, as do all these council people and the people on all the boards for the job that we and they do. Thank you.
Okay, at this point, we're gonna move into closed session. So,
All right, are you ready to have me open the room?
Mark?
I was just waving to the chief. He was
Oh,
waving.
okay, okay.
Fly on.
Okay, yeah, I think we're all set to move into a closed session here, so.
All right, I will send you into the room, and when you're done, Mr. Condek is going to send me a message, and I will close that room, and we will all meet back here.
Okay, thank you, Rob.
Thanks.
Not the room.
We get to join a breakout room.
Boy, could you do some smaller print?
Are we all supposed to be here?
Are you, you should get a prompt on your screen.
The one I clicked that says join, right?
Yes.
Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Hello, I was on hold during the meeting. Is this the moderator or?
Yes, yes, I am the host.
Oh, okay, thanks. I was just checking to see if there's a call to the public after they come back. Any chance of that?
No, there will not be a call to the public. The meeting will be adjourned at that point.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, good night. Oh. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Looking to make sure we got everybody here.
Still waiting for Ed. There he is.
So we got Mr. Malik. Yep. I think we have everybody, right?
Mr. President, I make a motion that we go back into session.
Open session.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Dumont. Discussion. Roll call vote, please.
York,
Yes.
Sinkowitz,
Ed? Ed's on mute.
yeah.
Ed, you're on mute.
Do we have a way to go skip them and go back?
Okay.
Oh, he's
Yes.
Yes,
He said
okay.
yes.
Scott? Scott?
John's on mute too.
How did I get on mute?
When you came out.
Yes, okay. York, I'm sorry, Dumont,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Malik,
Yes.
Nedrow?
Yes. Okay, in a recent closed session, council addressed the concerns in a letter the Parks and Rec and Chair wrote to council previously. Our legal counsel moved forth with an investigation of the Parks and Rec Board, their chair and council. We found validity allegations were not confirmed. We did, however, find that areas of improvement of communication could be improved upon. We agreed that training should be instituted for all board and commission members. Council takes these issues of this nature very seriously, as evidenced by our thorough investigation. And with that, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I beat you.
Motion by Malik, second by Sinkowitz. Roll call vote, please.
Scott,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
York,
Yes.
Malik,
Yes.
Dumont,
Yes.
Sinkowitz,
Yes.
Nedrow.
Yes, and thank you, council, and good night and good luck in November, everybody.
Thanks. Good night. Good luck to you too.
Hi, buddy.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.
Leanne.